someday. Can't tell when the loving started. Her skin is just feel so soft. Now I'm digging out one man daughter. Ooh. Please excuse me, please pardon. Can't do this thing too often, but today I'm loving you. Won't forget the scent of you. Sit down in the Benz and cruise. None of my clues is blue. Said today I'm loving you. I've only loved just you. Right on the long bamboo. Feel like I'm in high school. Said today I'm loving you. Don't act like you never felt pain before. I can see that you've been hurt. Climb up out that dirt and we'll rise. I beg you don't run away. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. So much ego, and I bear down in Montego. Them days run off my fingers like sand. Some things I know you won't understand. I don't want no problems, but today I'm loving you. Won't forget the scent of you. Sit down in the Benz and cruise. None of my clues is blue. Say today I'm loving you. I've only loved just you. Right on the long bamboo. Feel like I'm in high school. Say today I'm loving you. You never felt pain before. I can see that you've been hurt. Climb up out that dirt and we'll rise. I beg you don't run away. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. It's like sand. Some things I know you won't understand. I don't want no problems, but today I'm loving you. Won't forget the scent of you. Sit down in the Benz and cruise. None of my clues is blue. Say today I'm loving you. I've only loved just you. Right on the long bamboo. Feel like I'm in high school. Say today I'm like you never felt pain before. I can see that you've been hurt. Climb up out that dirt and we'll rise. I beg you don't run away. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Any problem I started, any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried. Any problem I started, I'll be the father unmarried.
we had two different things that we were feeling at that particular time.
Did you ever find out how many women he actually cheated on you with? Was
As
there
a
ever a
whole
time
in
that
marriage,
in, out, or whatever? Was there ever a moment that y'all had a come to Jesus moment where he sat down and said, "Listen, to my knowledge, this is how many women I've slept with."
okay, so part of the recovery process where we were in the program for infidelity and all that is discovery. And in discovery, it's like we've trickled out a lot of information. Now it's time to go to level zero, ground zero, they call it. And so he had to make a list. And so he made a list of women, so everything that he could recollect. And there was nearly 100 women on there. And so
You talking about the 100? Where you going
that
back
he
to?
wrote on the list. Now,
You talking about why y'all? You talking about in his lifetime, or you talking about why y'all were dealing with each other?
okay, so we have to define these things. So I did not do a good job at defining if it was a lifetime of his lifetime or if it was specific to just
Well, heck, he been dating you since he was 19,
right.
so
So in my mind, to me that's a lifetime, right?
yeah,
You know, in my
yeah.
mind. So I'm thinking at least since
Whew.
6 years.
Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Button 91. We're gonna be here for about an hour or two. Let me be real with you. I normally say like half an hour. I'm lying. We're probably gonna be in for an hour or two. It's an open panel, which means you get to have your particular say. I'm gonna put a link in the chat for you guys so you guys can come on and have a conversation as well. I'm sure you have many thoughts about this. I'm gonna say this politely. If you know you don't come up here on a raggedy thing. Yeah, meaning if you know you don't come up and you can't show your face, don't come up here talking trash, talking the wickedest, talking the biggest, opening your mouth, yappa yappa on a mad level when you know you won't show your face. Okay. We don't like that kind of stuff where people do yappa yappa from behind the screen and they give the most maddest commentary. Okay. All right. So keep it respectful. Okay. Keep it cute. Keep it classy. You know what I mean? If you're not going to come up with a camera, that's it. If you're going to come up, say what you want. You know what I mean? Because your face on camera. All right. But if you ain't gonna come up, let's not do that. Okay. This ain't Clubhouse. All right. But we want to have a conversation about Denia Jaxn and have a real conversation about the situation, which has been, he's been, trending across the internet skies, and it's, been quite an interesting conversation um, about relationships and her situation with Derek Jaxn. Now, I think what we can safely say is that we have seen, or we've heard, sorry, I should say, we've heard some crazy stories from our good sis Denia Jaxn, and what we've come to see is that a lot of the madness that Derek Jaxn did, let's be very honest, was seen from the very, very, very beginning. Okay, so in the very beginning of a relationship, the madness was known. Okay, this is not an unknown madness. It wasn't coming out of nowhere. He didn't suddenly develop this character. He's always been mad, so we understand that relationships just don't appear that way one day. There is a progression that happens and people get there eventually. Now, I think also what we know is that trauma is such a powerful thing, and it affects the way people view relationships. I said this yesterday. That that your perception is informed by your attitude, and your attitude is informed by your belief, and your beliefs are informed by your experiences, and your beliefs are simply facts you consider to be true. And since your experiences are your experiences and they are facts, they are considered to be true to you. And so trauma really does a number on people because it affects the experiences, which affects the belief, which affects the attitude and how we approach things. And that oftentimes affects how we perceive people and how we show up to people in relationships. I think what's key, a lesson that we learned from over the two legs of the show was, or the show, but of the breakdown, is the fact that there was a lot of trauma in her life. Her father wasn't. Her father could have been more emotionally present. Her nature is to be accommodating, and so she accommodated not only Derek Jaxn but also her father. We know that obviously as well. She took a lot of hits. I mean, if you really deep it, she took a lot of hits. Okay, a lot. She put herself in positions where she consistently was number two. I mean, you're coming up the stairway and you're seeing girls taking their turn. You did that outside of the marriage when you're broken up. You then try to win this man back by, manipulating him. And then you also get into a marriage and he's doing the exact same thing. And, you find yourself again once more being number two, where you're allowing him to put the woman first, other women first, and you're staying. And the key thing I think we can also take from it is you are gonna allow people to treat you how they're gonna treat you. Okay, all right. If you don't put some respect on your own name, they ain't gonna put no respect on yours. Okay, all right. If you don't put some respect on your own name, they ain't gonna put some respect on yours. Okay. So yes, it is quite an interesting conversation. Let's have that conversation, you guys. So I want to definitely get you guys on as well. So don't be afraid. Send the link is in the chat, it's pinned up. If you want to have your say, jump aboard. Again, you can do it cammed off or cam up. But again, if you're going to be cammed off, I don't want to hear you coming out shooting bazookas out when you know you can't even cam up. Let's not do that. Okay. All right. That's too much bravery for me. But I think one of the things that we saw also from the Daenerys Jaxn situation, which I think a lot of people can also break down from the situation too, is there's more to the story, and of course they're in a divorce proceeding, so she probably can't say everything. But I think we said this on the part one: 3 abortions is mad. I think one of the things that I wanted to ask a question, maybe I can ask a question to the audience is, and you could debate this as well. 3 abortions, the 4th one, she's like, I'm going to tell the Lord, I'm going to keep it. Why get into that position? You know what I mean? Did she do it on purpose? Did he do it on purpose? You know what I mean? Clearly for what we know, he hasn't got any other children elsewhere from what we know. Okay. So who was to blame? Did she have the children? Did she get pregnant on purpose, or did he impregnate her on purpose? Or was this a case of just really stupid behavior? You know what I mean? And my thing is, who else did he also have sex unprotected with? Was it just her? So I'm trying to understand that too, the beginning aspect of the situation, right? There's a lot of madness in this story. There's just moments where you're like, baby, why don't we quit here? Why don't we stop here? So these are the questions I'm asking. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Why are we doing what we're doing? What's the reason why you're in a position where now, for instance, having a child and then obviously then entering a relationship with him, then chasing him as well, because she did chase him. Let's keep it a buck. She chased him as well, right? So she also chased him as well. So there are times where and the thing is as well, I think the consistent message that I got from her was, he told you he didn't want you. Now, he didn't say it out of his mouth, but his behavior told you he don't want you. Right, and this is the aspect of what we're talking about, which is value, value of self. But yeah, he told her out of her. He told him out of her behavior throughout 9, however many years, from 19 to 30. So that's 11 years almost. He pretty much told her he don't want her. Okay, so that is is difficult. And she found herself competing for the affections of Derek Jaxn, amongst other women. Not actually saying the world is small. I ran into him in an elevator with a woman recently, shaking my head, and then again with my boyfriend. Oh, okay. Oh, snap. Oh, okay. Oh, snap. Chives and bread. Okay. All right, I got a first person to come up here. Again, guys, we're gonna have a timer for you guys. We'll have a 2-minute timer just to keep it rolling. If no one comes on, then of course I'll continue the conversation with you. It's not a problem at all. But just to keep the conversation flowing for everybody, everyone to have a fair turn. Kalia, welcome to the show. Have you on here?
Hey, I love you, Kojo. You are amazing. You are watch you all the time. Okay. But I just wanted to really talk about she had me in tears. Because I feel like so many women go through this on different levels or stages of this situation. And I feel like she had me in tears when she was talking about, I don't know if you got to that part, if you see 1 and 2, when she was talking about the complexion of her daughter.
Yep.
And that part had me in tears. Like I was in shock because you can't make that up. Like you can't make that feeling up. You can't make that emotion up. You can't make those thoughts up. Like that was so genuine. And for her to have to go through such psychological abuse in that situation, I mean, I really left with a great respect for her. She took accountability on all levels for everything that happened, which is something that a lot of women don't do.
I agree.
And I felt like she really took accountability, and she was just, to me, that was an amazing interview. And I really recommend that for a lot of women who are out there dating and even married, because I found my triggers in what she was saying in my journey of my relationship into my marriage. So I understand exactly how she feels. And I think that a lot of women need to take off the judgment of her and really listen to her story, because I feel like it will set a lot of women free of those emotions of being second, whether it be in their marriage, be in their relationships, be with their fathers. I remember I walked in, I was 8 years old, and I walked in to my father's girlfriend's niece saying, "Oh, it's my aunt's boyfriend at the door." Mind you, he was still married to my mom. So I walked in finding out that my dad was cheating on my mom through a party. So I carried that my whole life of, is he going to replace me? Am I going to be replaced? Because he had a daughter. And so it's a lot of traumatic things that happen, and you don't know where it comes from until you're like, wow, that was it. That's what triggered it. That's what always made me feel like I could be replaced at any time. And so I really urge, because I could see my trauma, I could see my triggers in her, and I can see where as a woman, other women should hear her story without judgment and really understand that even though you might not get in as deep as she did, you still are in the same position she's in, and you need to get out because it only gets worse. And I love how she glorifies God in it. I love how that's the source of her strength and her getting through that moment. I think a lot of women need to know God is real in that too. So I really love it. I love you. I watch you all the time. I'm sorry, but I'm girling right now because you are the bomb. Like, you really do speak to women and men, and you hold them accountable in a way I feel like other communities on YouTube don't. And I thank you for that. Continue to do you. Even when people don't agree with you, or I don't agree with you sometimes, you're a little too rough.
We're
But
normal.
I feel like you stay neutral and you're very good. So keep up the good work. I love you. I keep watching you, and thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate you. Oh, don't go anywhere yet. You said something interesting, and I don't know if you wanted to even share that. You don't have to. Of course, it's a public platform. But you mentioned about your experience and then coming into a place where you saw what you saw, right? And I just wanted you to kind of maybe, because like you said, we're here to always try and learn from people. When you saw that, first of all, how young would you have been? And then, like you said, I just want you to expand on how that would have impacted you. You know what I mean?
I was okay. So it took a long time for me to even have that conversation with my dad, but it affected me because then in relationships, I was okay being behind closed doors. So when I would date people, or I would date people, I was okay being behind closed doors, even though I felt like I wanted to be the one that you flaunted. I wanted to be the one that you held on your arm. I wanted to be that person, but I settled for those late night conversations. Those, oh, we can hang out just here. We can do this, but here. So, and it comes from always feeling hidden or like secrets. Those secrets, you become a secret and you become comfortable in being a secret. And so that is where it really affected me, and it carried. And then when things would happen, I would keep it a secret. I was the R word. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my mom until I was 18. That happened when I was 15. So you continue to be a secret. And it's because your whole world was built around secrets. I didn't even know I was going around this woman's family before that happened. I didn't even know who she was. And I was at her barbecues, her this, her that, everything. Didn't know who she was. Didn't know that that's what was going on, because all I knew was Dad was still at home. So that's how it traumatized me, and it went on in my relationships. And so it can damage you in so many ways you don't even understand. And I remember telling my father, like, you replaced us. Because that's all I could think of, was that this woman had a daughter, and you replaced me and my mom with her and her daughter. And that was the main thing that I took away from it. And it really ruined my relationship with my dad for a lot of years. So, I mean, we're good now, but we had to have like 3-hour conversation because it tore me up. And I think I was 26 years old when I told him, like, I can't do this anymore. And so, yeah, but that was one way. I always became a secret. And I feel like other women, don't let a man make you a secret. If they cannot be with you openly, then they cannot be with you. And you have enough dignity and respect within yourself to say, I'm not anybody's secret. No matter what Escape said, don't be nobody's secret. It's not cool. And this, to me, she allowed herself to be a secret too. For all those years, nobody knew he had anybody. Nobody knew he was even married. Nobody knew. She knew, but she allowed herself to be a secret because deep down inside, we don't think we're worth being out in the open because of how we feel about ourselves. And I feel like that's what she went through too. She didn't know how she felt about herself. But her story is deep. And I feel like I didn't like that. A lot of people in the YouTube community also was commenting or making videos very fast without seeing both parts. So, and not really paying attention to her story, because it could be misleading if you pull out parts without hearing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I wish that more people would listen to it first before making commentary on it, because it really will do a disservice to what her
she said
accomplish. But that's all.
Mm. My final question, real quick, because I know you probably at work or whatever. Did your dad have a dad?
No. So he had a dad,
Yeah.
but again, my dad was really, really good at football. And so he was in and things like that. His dad would come on that part, but everything else he wanted nothing to do with him. And so my dad didn't really get a relationship with him until he was in his 50s. So my dad was in his 50s, and my father just passed away in his 80s. But I didn't meet him until I was 35. And so we really didn't have a relationship with his dad like that. I met his dad's side of the family the same time as he did at a family reunion. So
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, no, he didn't. And I think that's a part of his trauma too. And I think also too, I want to say this because I always tell people this. I look back now at my parents and I give them so much grace because I'm like, I don't know what I would have done to be 18, 19, 20, 30 with 3 kids, married. You get what I mean? I don't know what I would do with that. So I give my parents a lot of grace because I'm like, you did what you could with what you knew and what you had. And I think a lot of people need to give their parents a little bit more grace too. Because we're all trying to figure it out. I'm almost 40 years old. I'm still trying to figure it out. And we need to give ourselves grace. We need to give our parents grace because a lot of the trauma that they gave us was trauma that they had themselves. And so now that we know that, it's up to us to go to therapy. It's up to us to really take time to self-reflect and help ourselves rather than always blaming someone else for our trauma. I'm an advocate for therapy. I'm an advocate for self-help. I'm an advocate for meditation and really getting your own self and understanding yourself. Because some of those things, maybe not all of those things, but some of those things can be dealt with if you want them to be. So.
I love that. Kalia, thank you very much. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
No, thank you for sharing your truth, man. I think it's helped us get a better understanding as well. You don't have to go. I'll just put you behind, but you don't have to go, but I'll put you behind. But the link is always there. But thank you again. Listen, I think great conversation there. And I think Kalia made some really important points and brought up something that I think we need to also look at very, very clearly. The impact of fathers are clear. And so actually our fight now also on these YouTube streets is getting men to understand the importance of their role in a child's life. I'm going to be petty again. This is why I told y'all we ain't doing none of this. Women need to choose and have children without men nonsense. It's nonsense. You know what I mean? Like it's absolute ludicrosities. Okay. Where, whenever we talk about fathers are absolutely needed. They are helpful to establish esteem, but they're also helpful in terms of establishing identity, and critically as well, they are a part of the cosmos of showing children what the love is between men and women, and so therefore there is a responsibility on men, particularly, to actually begin to show effective leadership in the way that they serve their wives. And that does not mean you have to become a simp. You have to worship your wife and let her walk all over you. That's not what we're talking about. What we're discussing in this instance is being able to appreciate the partner that you're with and work with your partner in a way that you honor them. All right, that this is your queen, and as a king, the queen is not to be belittled, to be taken advantage of, to be mistreated, mishandled, but to be handled with grace and to be handled with love and to be handled with appreciation. That does not mean that you end up worshiping that person. It just means that you understand the value that you have in your hand. In fact, I literally came across a video today. Madame Noir just literally released a video a few minutes ago, and I commented on it because Papoose came out with some bars that, you know, I love that he said, and I want to bring that for you about the love between you know, himself and you know, his wife. But I think this was some words of wisdom that Papoose was sharing. Hopefully I can get the right part for you guys. Well, let me see if I can get this for you guys. Well, all right, so let's
So whatever you call yourself, these new fancy words they use.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? Who's creating these new words, man? These fancy words, man. So, you know what I mean? Let's just call them cheeking ass, man. Hands. You gotta own that, bro. And when a real man walk in the room who's responsible, who's willing to sacrifice and have that discipline towards his queen, you just gotta deal with that. You can't try to say weird things like, oh, alpha and bro. Own that. That's what you said you are. You gotta own that and say it with your chest, bro. Don't try to separate. You know what I mean? Like, yo, get over this thing, man.
I'm bringing this part here. Oh, I've missed it. Hold on. Here we go.
Man, sport, if you want to put it in anything, but I don't think it has nothing to do with what if you alpha or beta or whatever. If you can handle and keep a lot of women happy, then go ahead and do that if that's what you want to do.
I can't get enough of disappointing one woman. I'm supposed to disappoint a bunch.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. That's what I'm
Like,
saying.
what?
And you know what else too? When you live in that type of lifestyle, and I don't like to judge, to each his own.
Yeah.
My thing is this: a woman is the most precious jewel, more precious than a ruby, emerald, diamond, or sapphire.
Bang.
Each man has to take one woman and rise her above the rest, so she
Bang.
can show the world how precious she truly is. Meaning, if you don't put your lady on that pedestal and rise her up and show that she's special, you're never gonna know her full potential.
Because you can't fully lean in.
Yeah, you're not giving her your all, so it's actually a reflection of you. If you're playing games and you're dividing your love, dividing your attention, dividing yourself between her and the next person, what do you expect her to give you in return? In reality, brother,
Because you're giving her a piece of you,
so
expecting full.
you're shooting yourself in the foot. You got to be loyal to receive loyalty.
If a woman approaches you and she says, "I'm okay," well, not you, obviously.
So I listen. You need to go and watch that. That it's 10 minutes long. It's not even that long, but it is an amazing conversation. Papoose is a stand-up brother, and I've loved listening to him since I was watching him on Black Love, and just the way he articulates himself. A real G. No one can say, "Oh, he's a simp. He's this and that." No, you notice nobody says that, right? A great example of somebody who loves his wife and does it in the correct manner. You know, that's not say he's perfect. That's not say that he's become somebody's super role model. But what I'm saying is just the way he has shown up in terms of how he talks, but also he walks the walk. We know that. We know his history. We know what he's done for Remy Ma. And he's never used it in a way like, oh, front and back and like, well, you know, I stayed when she was in prison and used it against her. You know, we don't hear those things. What we hear is somebody who respects the woman that he's with, right, and honors the woman he's with. And so, you know, not every man is going to be Papoose. Of course, we're not asking that, but what we are saying is, this is what we're looking at as something to say, this is what we need. We need more of this stuff, right? We need more of that conversation. We need more of men, black men specifically, because we're a black community, standing up and being like, hey, look, you know, I love my wife unconditionally, and I honor her in the fact that I respect her, I treat her as an equal in this relationship. And again, when I say equal, maybe I should say with equity in this relationship, meaning I understand that there are certain weaknesses and strengths that you have, and there's some weaknesses and strengths I have, but it's a partnership that we're working with, and not all partnerships are going to have 50-50. They're in different ways. We know we have different strengths and different weaknesses, and we cover each other. This is what the Bible talks about. Love, it covers a multitude of sins. That love is patient. It endures. It doesn't boast. It doesn't, hold the wrongdoings against somebody. You know, it's not quick to anger. You know, that's when we say this love aspect. And so, we love to see things like that, because that highlights once more again the beauty of relationships and how positive they can be. And one thing that he mentioned about where it came from, and before I get Jay on here as well, one thing that he mentioned, I hope I can get where I don't know if he said it in the beginning. I wasn't listening, so I was listening, but I don't remember. I wrote down the notes of when he said what he said, because he literally spoke about where his ideology came from. And I think it proves my point. Let me see if I can get it for you guys.
Physically, but they only can lock your mind if you allow it. So I just made sure I stayed communicating with her constantly.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can get it for you.
I supported her, bro. I supported her to the max.
Oh, baby.
Tornado hit this house and then it got.
Let's go back. Okay, let's see if I can get it for you guys.
All right, so you have positioned yourself, at least in the Black community, what it looks like to show up ready for your family no matter what. How important is it to you to see the Black family continue to grow and to see other Black men put that same emphasis on creating and sustaining Black families?
I'm gonna tell you this, it was by default.
Yeah.
It's like when you see you look on the news or wherever and you see a tornado and tornado hit this house and then it got wrecked. The tornado actually hit my crib. It hit my house, it hit home, and I just picked up the pieces. You know, my wife blew trial. We had our wedding planned already. We spent money on it. It was on the yacht and everything, and we thought she was gonna beat the case. Unfortunately, she blew trial, and when she blew trial, it was just like it was a messed up situation. And I just supported her, bro. I supported her to the maximum, the most I possibly can, to the point where I didn't even support myself. So I was just there for her on a constant basis, making sure she was all right mentally, because they can lock you up physically, but they only can lock your mind if you allow it. So I just made sure I stayed communicating with her constantly and things of that nature. And Double XL did an interview, they documented it. And when they put it out, I just started to get like love and things of that nature.
Love this, man.
To be honest with you, when we shot Love and Hip Hop, I was expecting to get clowned. I was like,
this is the kind of stuff we're talking about.
I'm on one knee proposing. They never seen this side of me as a father. Because I know how ignorant the culture can be at times. I was surprised when they aired the first episode. I just got so much love. But that told me that the world was tired of seeing our people being depicted in that way, bro. I feel proud to see that we can influence the culture in a positive way, because before that, I feel like a lot of people within our culture was ashamed to hold their lady's hand in public. They didn't want people to see them, you know, showing love to their significant other. And after that happened with me and my wife, you started to see more celebrities out and showing love to their lady, which is a great thing.
Where did that come from?
Where did it come from? Right.
This is the most important part. Listen to this.
When I looked up on the walls, I seen pictures of my mom's and my pop's wedding.
Nice.
My pops had the white suit on with the jerry curl. You know what I'm saying? My mom's had the wedding dress. And I used to look at those pictures like, wow. I said, damn, one day I want to get married. So I want people to know out here, your children are watching.
Yep.
I definitely can speak to that. I was inspired by my parents. You know, they've been married, almost 40 years and still rocking, right? Wow, you know, ups and downs and whatnot. But
that's right.
My brother and I, we were able to witness that. We was able to still, you know, just growing up, because especially as children, they're human recorders. And for me and my brother, we was able to just see what Black love was. We got to see like ups and downs, struggles, but we also got to see, you know, triumphs. We had love, we had each other, and then when stuff got hard, it was brought to our attention that it's a tight moment, but we gonna be all right.
And so this is really important, because what they just touched upon is actually the real reason why a lot of relationships are not working in 2023, and why they haven't been working for the last decade or more, and how many years, right? Is the imagery. Because remember, I told you guys about how our perception is affected by our attitude, and our attitude is affected by our beliefs, and our beliefs are affected by our experiences. What are your children experiencing? Men, you treating your wife a particular way. Derek Jaxn, here's the thing about Derek Jaxn. He can say whatever he wants to say, right? But now his behavior is what he's been saying. This is why it's very different. This is why I almost think it's better that you exit that relationship than you actually do what Derek Jaxn has done. Because now, no matter what he says, it is now documented, not only in the life of the mother of his children, but it's documented internationally on our internet screens. Then these girls are never, the two daughters they have, they're never going to ever forget that. They're never going to forget that, right? They're never going to forget that. And not only are they never going to forget, it's not a moment. You know, our good sis came up here and Kalia was talking about a moment that happened and some of the things that she saw. This is years. So now, yes, you can talk about everything you've done, but how you treated the mother of your kids, okay, All right. The mother of your kids, how you talk, how do you behave with the mother of your kids? That is your call to action card to your young daughters now. They are now going to be affected by your behavior. How are they going to trust men in future, knowing that you couldn't even do a respectful thing to life? Now, listen, people make mistakes. We're not saying people don't make mistakes. How you come back from those mistakes is quintessentially important, right? So if you don't come back and you repair the relationship, and you don't show this aspect of love and care for the partner you're with, you are creating the dynamic for your children to again witness and to then replicate future in relationships. A lot of people are afraid of marriage now because they've seen bad marriages amongst their parents. You know what I mean? These men here just told us a very great example. They are well situated and acclimatized to want to get married because they've seen a healthy, at least seen some good aspects of marriage when it comes to their parents, right? Not, doesn't have to mean everything's going to be right because we're human beings, but they've seen some good aspects when it comes to marriage with their parents. And thus, because of that, they are more acclimatized to want to get married. And so the boys that are growing up to be men, they are seeing very bad examples of relationships and marriage, and it is informing their beliefs, and it's informing their attitudes, and it's informing their perception. So, for men, okay, all right, we need to be very much aware that our behavior is leading and informing and teaching our children how to behave. Okay, cool. Let me get Jay on again. Then again, if you want to have your say, guys, do click on the link. It's in the chat. I've put it there. I've lived it. So if you do want to have your say, you can jump on. Like I said, if you're not going to come up, if you're not going to cam up and you want to come up, let's not do the raggedy. Okay, keep it cute, keep it classy, keep it clean. All right. Yes, Jay, talk to me.
Well, hey everybody. Hey Kojo. I don't know where to start now. Do I start with Papoose or no? Papoose would be a whole nother conversation for another day, because that's a brother, like a good example of a good man, a good husband. Let me say that, because I don't know how he is as a man, but as a good husband, as far as we can see, and a good father. Let me start off by saying, disclaimer, I will be twerking on a fence on this Danae situation, because there's a lot to go on both sides. So it's not going to be, just point fingers at Danae or just point fingers at Derek Jaxn. This is a community discussion on them both, because at this point, I can't totally be mad at Danae for a lot of things, though she has done a lot of wrong in it to learn from, because she's taken accountability for a lot of it. And so with that means that I can't totally just be mad at Derek Jaxn for a lot of it either, because from her account, he has been showing her who he was from the jump. So let me start there. Let me start secondly by saying I commend Danae for having so much accountability in her story, being a person to share her story for others to learn from, because if you really pay attention to this and not, like Kalia said, not point fingers at her or try to judge her so harshly, you can actually learn from her mistakes. So I hope that the young ladies or young men that go through some similar things with women, or whatever their preference is, they are learning from her mistakes, because that's what it is here for. She can't undo what was done, but it's here for somebody else not to go through that same thing. With that said, there's a few points that I want to harp on. And since you had brought up the fact that fathers are so important into children's lives and how we are shaped as children, as far as the family dynamic goes, with the partnership or with, you say you're equal, it's the balance that we need as children. And we don't realize until we're like adults and we're starting to raise other human beings, how much we impact children's lives. They mimic every single thing that we do. So if you're showing your child, especially your young boy, as a man, it's free to run out here and chase all these women and do this and that with all these women, but then try to turn around and tell our daughters, well, you need to stay away from these men and don't be loose out here and stuff. It's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of never really stood on that side of, oh, boys are boys, so they can go and do this. But you as a young lady, you can't be promiscuous. You can't be doing this. It's like, well, who are they supposed to be promiscuous with?
Mm-hmm.
That's so confusing. So like, if you're going to shame me, but you're going to make him feel okay with it or whatever, that he's a conqueror. He needs to be doing these things. No, he needs to be a stand-up guy. So somebody that is right for him, he can for him and treat her as a queen that she's supposed to be. And she would in return will treat him as the king he is.
Mm-hmm.
So we as adults, we as parents, and I'm saying that in two things, because even the ones that are not parents, you're shaping other people's children around you too. So you have to be mindful of the things that you are doing. So we have to take care in how we move forward and show up as adults for the ones generations behind us, because those generations, like they always say before us, they're going to be running the country. And right now it's running to hell the way it's going. Okay, you got women out here that don't want to have a man to have children. You got men out here that don't even want women or just hate women so much, so they spend all day just talking about them online.
Mm-hmm.
It's chaos. And I'm dead serious. Like, I've lived a good life. I've done enough. So if I'm not in a relationship for the rest of my life, I will be okay. But that's not fair to the rest of y'all that is still having to go through your life experiences. And I really feel bad that you guys have to deal with this type of stuff that Danae is dealing with. Now, to get back to Danae's situation. Pay attention, ladies. When you're literally chasing a man, this is equivalent. Danae's situation is equivalent to us putting men in the friend zone. The only difference is she's giving it up thinking that she can get out of the friend zone. She's been friend zone forever. When he is showing you, hey, I got this chick, I got that chick, that's friend zone. Because he's basically telling you, you're my best friend. I can be honest enough with you to let you know that I'm gonna have all these people over here and you're gonna accept it. Because that's how we treat our friends. We accept what our friends do and don't really question it too much. And that's what she was doing in that moment. So unfortunately, sis was friend zoned. And she can sit here and get up here, oh, he came up to me, he asked me to be his tutor, and we kind of had conversations and we kicked it off from there. No, that's exactly what he did. He asked you to be his tutor. Because you guys had some common similarities and all this stuff didn't make you boyfriend and girlfriend. It made you people that can have a conversation and talk and do these things. But of course, him being who he is, he's going to conquer you. And you allowed him to do that. And unfortunately, sometimes at that age, and I'm not going to blame her for it, because some of us at that age just don't have the whereabouts to know certain men are not right to be in our lives. Yeah. And that's why I say fathers are very important, because those are our first teachers on the male spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They show us, regardless if they're a good father, bad father, good to our moms or not, they show us what men can be like. And as daughters, we tend to pay attention. Sometimes we get a little blinded because that is daddy. We have unconditional love for daddy. So it might stray us wrong or right, depending on how our daddy is and how he treats us. However, he is our first learning lesson as far as dealing with men. So unfortunately for her learning lesson was, I need to chase a man to get his attention, to gain his love. And I just wish that she had a more diverse friend group, I would say, to show her, no, this is not it, sis. Because literally for you to sit here and close yourself off in the years that you guys were off and on, and not try to even entertain anybody else outside of trying to make him jealous, it's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. And actually, like, to be entertaining a person after assault was, done to you. again, y'all know I got stories. So for me, it's like I cannot see myself, and I've been somewhat in her shoes. I cannot see myself entertaining a man so shortly after an incident like that happened to me. And sometimes I know I'm not y'all before y'all come on me for it, because I know sometimes in the mentality of it, we feel a whole bunch of ways. We feel like maybe I deserve that. Maybe this is the way I'm gonna show up. This is the way I'm gonna get love. And maybe falling into Derek's arms was a form of comfort to be safe. I don't know how soon in the relationship she told him about the incident. And if she told him early in the thing, yes, he's a big ass prick. I'm sorry. Sorry to be cussing up here, but he is a whole fool for, if you knew that from the jump and you still treated this lady like that. I'm not gonna pull a Danae and curse him. But that's hard. That would be I would hate to find out that that's the truth. I know they're still going through their battle right now, so there's a lot of covering she's still doing in this story. So I know all these truths is not out there, and some of the truths is not in good favor of her. So I'm gonna leave her alone on it. But I commend her, like I said, for a lot of the accountability that she took, self-awareness, to even know that you were looking at your child some type of way. And it made me really think this morning, as Kalia was saying it, how many mothers do this without actually realizing that they're doing this to their child? How many mothers are so envious? Because at this point, this is now the second account that I've heard of come out. And the first one came out on Ayana with Lisa's Ray and her mother.
Mm.
But as a child, sometimes you feel things. You don't know what it is. You feel things. It's just like, my mother is a little weird to me. And she acting a little funny with me. So it's just, I'm just wondering now how many relationships are destroyed. And now the mother is looking at the daughter like some type of way because she either favors the dad or she favors somebody the dad might have messed with. That's deep. That's very, very deep. And I do pray that she does recognize it enough to change her behaviors moving forward with her daughter. Give her daughter the love that she still deserves, and don't hold or harbor that little bit of resentment that's still left in her behind it. Yeah, there's just so much or whatever on this thing, but the biggest takeaway is that I just hope people really look at this as a learning experience. She's giving you guys tools to say, you know what, stay vigilant in your dating process. If a person comes to you and he's showing you this way is how he's going to treat you, and that's not the way you want to be treated, walk away. I'm not going to tell you that, if you don't want to be somebody's secret, because if that's what you're choosing to be at that time, we'll have fun with it, ride that wave. But once that wave is stopped for you, don't jump back on. Go find another. Do something else. Like move on. At some point, sometimes we just want to play around. We just want to have a little fun. But when you really want a relationship and this is not aligning to how you want it to go, just leave it alone. No matter how good or fine the brother is and all this stuff, no matter how much money he got, if that's not what your end goal is about, just leave it alone. I don't know. I think I had some more thoughts, but I can't think right now.
No, that's cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that, Jay, as well. It got me thinking as well. I mean, I think, again, that the importance of, like I said, father figures is so key, because once there's a breach in the child's development via the parent not necessarily being there, it affects a child, as well growing up. And I know it's interesting because I said something yesterday, and I was like, there's a lot of people who have gone through SA grape, but actually, when you trace their background, you'll realize there's also a breach in their childhood. So there's either a parenting breach, emotional neglect, or there has been some overparent, like some really, not only say nasty, but a bad parenting, right? That has left that child overly exposed. And then it's like I don't know. I was saying to someone else. It almost feels spiritual, but it's almost like psychological because again, your experiences are informing your beliefs and then they're informing your attitude, which affects your posture and how you move into certain situations. And then you realize that with her situation, what she was dealing with, right? It again, the predatory nature of this person, whoever did this essay as well, right? This person as well. There's something instinctive about this evil predatory behavior too, which it seeks out for its level. It looks for that animal. It's almost like when a lion looks at the pack and it sees the young one kind of straggling behind the people, and it's like, I see you. Okay, I'm gonna go for you. You know what I mean? And so it's like this, and I'm saying that to say that this starts before that moment. It starts in childhood. It starts when that father figure is unprepared for parenting. And of course, most people are not prepared for parenting in a sense, but but what you realize is that breach in that child's life, plus their nature and how they are, because she's an accommodating person, can have them in situations in life like Derek Jaxn's situation that are just that will keep on going on and on and on. You're asking why, and it's because from the very beginning she has been breached. Is interesting. So you can definitely say that the importance of having good parents, especially having good fatherhood, who are emotionally present as well as physically present as well as financially present, is important. The money aspect, in terms of having all the money in the world, it's not the be all and end all. The be all and end all is that, are you emotionally and physically present in your child's life? Because given that to that child, listen, you may be the platform that they build their life upon. But if they're emotionally and mentally breached, you leave them exposed, and it's dangerous because anybody can get in after you've not set up posts and set up protection around that child as well. And I think what is so interesting also about this situation is that with the Danae Jaxn situation too, a lot of times within the relationship, mentions that they went to the counselor and she didn't say nothing, right? So she actually she might say something to Derek out loud, but when she got to the counselor, she wouldn't say anything. And I think if she really dives deep, I think she kind of mentioned it a little bit as well. The reality of the situation is, and she didn't want to lose what she had, and because that person was also supplying a source of what she needed, which is some attention, some feeling of being special, right? Because he's got status now, he's growing in his his career, and he's getting money and all that things. And if this person who's so special to other women wants me, then this is the validation that I required and I needed. This is what I needed from my father figure, and now I'm replacing it with this situation with Derek Jaxn. And so Derek Jaxn ends up playing this role of being a source provider for the validation that she required as a child, as an adult. And I think that's why she took her going to counseling and therapy. I think also really helped her take much accountability, which I'm not talking against her accountability. She took accountability in pretty much everything. I'm just highlighting those points. And so I think when she got to the therapists, how honest was she? Because again, not wanting to lose the source that you've got and not lose the person that is giving you the validation that you require, that you've always wanted, to be seen and to be heard. To give that up is very difficult. And again, because of the trauma that she's faced, it's the essay. Yes, I think the essay connects the dot with the childhood, though. I think together we get a perfect storm, and that creates the longevity that she felt in this thing. Now, I do feel I do feel like there's a lot of work to do. And I said this already. She wasn't attached to emotions, but I think also someone mentioned in the chat as well. I think there is a little bit, just a little touch of it, a little bit of pride still there. Okay, I think there's a little bit of pride still there. Maybe that's what kept her not going insane and stuff. But there is a little bit of pride there, which I think as she begins to do more healing, I think we'll begin to lower that barrier of pride as well. Because I did sense that too. Because even when she dealt with the whole Christian thing, I was like, sis, this ain't it. But anyway, let me get Estella on, and then Jay, you can also get in there as well. It's
Let me,
Estella.
hey Stella, let me say something real quick because you on that point real quick. I just want to say this. Let's stop that too in our community, Black people. Let's stop telling what happens in this house stays in this house to our kids, and start making a safe space for our kids to talk to us. Because that's why she's having trouble to even talk to the therapist and address what actually happened to her, because we like to tell our kids, oh, what happens in this house, you don't tell nobody this and stuff, and that's not safe for our children, because that also makes us feel unprotected as a child. And so,
Oh, Jay, you're cutting.
and say this happened. Did I go out for a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah, for a second. Yeah, sorry. Last 5 seconds.
Oh, shoot.
It's only last 5
No, but I'm
seconds.
just saying. Yeah, just build a bridge. Just build a bridge with your child so they can feel safe enough to come to you and let you know things that are happening in their lives so you can correct them. I'll let it go.
Appreciate it, Jay. Estella, go for it.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon.
Morning.
Where it's afternoon. I wanted to just hop on because I heard Jay speaking. I didn't hear before what may have been said, but I wanted to just kind of add on to what she was saying about her not speaking up. And I wanted to add into the caveat and nuance of Denia Jaxn in particular, for people who listened to the entire interview. For those who didn't, she talked about how she grew up in Denver, in Colorado. I don't know if it was Denver, but in Colorado. It's predominantly white, obviously. She talked about more of like coming from a predominantly white institution, like elementary level into her secondary level school. And those of you on here who know what that means, being Black, I'll say in America, because I'm from America, I don't know what it's like in Europe. You all know that that's a whole other nuance in itself. And I would definitely be able to identify and say and add that that's a part of her not speaking up and a part of her trauma. So my personal experience with that is that when you grow up from a primary age around, I mean, just being like literally the only Black kid in school, and I'm sure that that's what she was. I can guarantee it. I don't even care if she lived in a Black area of Colorado. If she lived in a Black area of Colorado, they went to a school where there was probably 5 or 6 Black children in that whole school. I know this because she's my age, so that means she's like grew up in the 90s like me. And even living in a place like that, I lived in Nevada at a primary age. And I had an extremely traumatizing experience. And my parents were very much there for me as much as they could be. And then also growing up in the 90s, being a latchkey kid. She had young parents. I'm going to assume she was probably a latchkey kid. And it sounded like she only had her mother in her life. So just that whole not speaking up about what's going on with you is very much a part of the culture that she came from. And she didn't say that in particular, but just listening to her and listening to like the background of her story, I could just tell like that's a whole nother trauma. And like culture, you were saying, like there's something about all the traumas from her childhood, even leading up before her essay / grape, that it was apparent to me, like there's so many things leading up to her feeling like I can't speak up. And it sounds like toward the end of her story, her whole thing was like, her whole purpose now is like, I have to speak up and speak out, right? And maybe we don't necessarily agree with how she's doing it or going about it, but she's probably just living in her purpose. I'm just making guesses, but it feels like she's meant to speak up about things, and she has so many things to speak up about now. But I just wanted to kind of like add in that flavor, as that part of my opinion, because I definitely believe that her growing up in that predominantly white community has a huge part to add into like her behavior of like not speaking up and not being able to stand up for herself and not being able to recognize when somebody's pushing over on you, like how Jay mentioned, like the guy's friends on you. She probably had a lack of awareness around that, because when you're growing up in those predominantly white you're trying to blend in and fit in, and you literally cannot blend in and fit in. And people will say things, and young people, your peer, your little 9-year-old white kids, excuse my language, but will pick on you, and it's a different feeling than when young Black kids did. And I know this because I went from living in Las Vegas, Nevada, and being literally the only Black girl in an entire school and being bullied, severely bullied actually, and then going to live with my father 3 years later and being in the inner city, the city of Baltimore, and going to middle school and being bullied by the Black kids because why you talk like that? You talk white. What's wrong with you? And being bullied by the little kids growing up in the middle of the ghetto during like a prime time and crack epidemic. So, that's a trauma there. So even her going from Denver to Tuskegee University in Alabama, that's a wild transition. So this woman went through major wild transitions in her entire lifetime from like a small age. So I just wanted to like give that perspective, and just that was my thought about it. That was all.
No, I appreciate it, Stella. Thank you for adding that extra context as well to the conversation. You know, I appreciate your perspective there, because I think it adds some more nuance to it. And I think one of the key things, with this situation, and hearing about these situations is, I think with the Danae Jackson situation, I think we as I've seen some people say, we need to have, obviously, of course, we need to have some compassion as well, and so that's always going to be on the forefront of things. I think, that we are understanding that she took accountability and very much did far better than most people do, as well. So it's more of a case of we're taking the lessons from the situation of what she described and kind of hopefully kind of magnifying it as well, and hopefully other people can learn from it. I think one thing what's quite interesting, as some when you become uber self-aware, I think you start to realize, and remember I said this yesterday, trauma looks different for different people. And I think I see some comments in the chat, which I love to address as well, which I think really cool as well. I'm hearing people say, obviously, like, I grew up with a great dad, but I was still like people pleasing. And I would say that, having spoke to people and coached people as well, sometimes it's not the most obvious things that are causing trauma, right? So your parent's not perfect. So this is not to say that the parent is bad, and they didn't necessarily even did anything wrong, but every child has needs. So if you have 4 kids, you're going to miss something, you know what I mean? And as you miss something, that child, because of their individual needs, a trauma is induced. So it's not like you're a bad parent. You're just not perfect. You're a human being. And so we all come out with fallibility, and the child will develop according to what they've experienced. Now, some kids are much more easier to parent because they're really self-reliant from early on. Like, they get the walking and the talking. Before you know it, they're cooking and the cooking. You know what I mean? Like, they are really easy to parent. They're really easy. And there's a lot of kids too who are not easy to parent because they have so much individual needs. Some of us are more sensitive. Some of us, you know, need a bit more protection. Some of us need a bit more help talking up. It is all the different crock pots of our society that require different types of people for to making the world go round, you know. And so what can happen is sometimes it can be difficult for parents to be able to analyze what their child needs, right? Because for instance, for me, right, I'm a person who is I like to, you know, I like to talk, be intellectual, understand feelings, stuff like that, right? But sometimes there's certain moments I'm like, look, when I see a kid crying, I'm looking at the kid like, if you don't shut up right now, that could be a trauma for the kid, because the kid that child might not need it, but because of the way that I look at certain things, right? I can only go on by my own experiences, right? So maybe that child may need me in that moment to be like, come on, let's see what's happened there. But maybe my reaction might be today, if you don't shut up there, what's going on? Like, you're crying for nothing. Like, get up. You know what I mean? So, like, depending on what you've gone through, depending on what your experience is, depending on how you see things, that's very true as well, Jay. Special children with special needs in the household as well is also another thing. Also, we have to remember that children too, I said it yesterday, can be a little bit narcissistic in the sense that they believe everything is because of them. So I said my experience. I said I was firstborn, and I don't know why, but in my head, as soon as I had siblings, all I could think of was all the attention is going to go to them. And in my head, my experience is it did go to them. And I ended up becoming, quote unquote, a third parent, right? Now, of course, there's trauma in that in itself. But, you know, why is my first thought being that if I have siblings, then they're going to take all the attention away? You know?
Yeah, you see that
So
a lot. You see it a lot,
go for it,
Kojo.
Jay.
Oh no, I was gonna say that same thing. You see it a lot sometimes, and when you announce it to the child, I'm about to have another child. Some children break down. Some kids are not happy about it. They're not happy about it, and like you said, we are a little narcissistic in our own rights and stuff. And sometimes, as parents, we are the same, even with our children. We are the same. It's still supposed to be, oh, I'm the parent, so the tension is and the focus is on me. So I need to do what I need to do to make me happy.
Mm.
And it's unfortunately some of our parents do these things that create traumas in us, where it's I'm gonna go and make me happy, so you just figure it out.
Oh
And
man,
it
I just want to amen that real quick.
Go for it, Silla.
No, that was it. I wanted to amen that what she just said real quick.
No. I mean, so I think, no matter how perfect the parent potentially could be, the child is going to have needs that the parent may not able to see everything, and that's where we as adults need to take our accountability too. Because as much as I may say, oh, my dad may not have done this or done that, I also have to be aware that I had needs that I couldn't even speak up about. You know what I mean? I had certain needs that I couldn't speak about, and some of those needs are not going to be very obvious. It's going to be latent. Someone said it, egocentric. Why is a child egocentric? That's the question. Why am I born that way? And that's what I said about sometimes your nature being the way you are can be your own, can be the beginning of your trauma. Because why is a child thinking, if I have siblings, their attention is going to go away from me? Why does a child's mind? Why? So some people will tell you their experience was they were happy when they had their siblings. I was not. I'll tell you straight. I every single one of them, when they came, I was pissed off. Because in my head, how my mind works is I'm already thinking ahead. What's going to change? That's the kind of child I am. Now, can I express that to my parents? I didn't even fully understand that myself. As a kid, all I think about is me. And I never told my parents that's how I felt about the situation. I also didn't fight back. I didn't not do what they told me to do. I didn't, rebel against them, put me into a place of responsibility. I never did any of those things. But that's what I was thinking. You know what I mean? I remember when my brother came, I was like, damn, got another one of us now. That's me at 4, by the way. Someone have thought, we got another one of us. All right, cool. When he came, I loved him, man. You know what I mean? Like, we used to roll together and do everything. And then obviously I got older, and then you do your own thing. And then I remember when my sister came, the first one, I was like, well, this house has got 2 bedrooms. There's now 3 kids. We're gonna have to move. Which means I'm gonna have to move schools.
Logistical king.
I'm telling you, my mind was just starting to think straight away, like, why? You know what I mean? Because again, my mind is thinking that. You know, I'm thinking, oh, now there's a third one. Oh, we're gonna have to move. You know what I mean? When the fourth one came, I said, oh Lord, if we ain't move after the third one, we definitely going now. Like forget my school, forget my friends, my mind is thinking that, right? But that's how my mind works. So, so it is it's interesting to hear some of those to when you hear people's experiences, right? Because like we said, children were born into a place of sin, so our minds think selfishly. You know what I mean? Our minds think selfishly, and you're already calculating what's for you and what you want to have for you. You know what I mean? And that how be.
Quick
So
question, because we both firstborn or whatnot, but our
yeah,
experience is slightly different in that aspect. Because I was actually kind of excited to have siblings, especially when it came from my mom.
love that.
Because my dad was already having them. Okay, but when it actually came from my
Sorry.
mom, I was like, oh yay, okay. But I was excited for the fact that I felt, because, like I said, I came from my parents were already kind of split like a year. Okay, I have to tell my story another time, but it was a weird thing that they were already kind of split early on in my life. So when my other siblings was coming around, I was just introduced to them, and it was just like, oh, here they are. Hey, here you go. But it was cool because I felt like I was no longer alone, because prior to then I was
Mm.
just lost in everybody's mix. And so for me, I was just there. I'm around everybody, but I'm just there. Nobody's really paying attention to me. Nobody's really watching over me and protecting me or in that. So for me, the excitement was, I have somebody here with me that is kind of mine's. That's how I kind of looked at it. Like they're mine's. So now I have somebody to protect and not leave vulnerable and feel like I feel, because clearly the adults around me ain't doing it. Um, so I'm wondering, for you in the beginning, were you getting a lot of the attention? Did you feel like you had your parents to yourself and you were getting a lot of attention? That's possibly why you were like, oh God, here comes somebody else to steal some of my attention.
You know what? It's interesting. I think for as far as I can remember, I had the attention, and just listening to my parents. My mum was at home too, so I had pretty much a lot of time with her as well. I remember she did tell me I was quite energetic, but I like to steal her food. You know what I mean, as kids usually do. But yeah, no. For me, I had the attention. Maybe I can't think of any memories when I'm young before they came, where I was maybe not given as much attention as I needed. I was quite. I think I was one of those children that's quite independent quite early on, but I spent a lot of time with mom. Obviously, my dad worked, which is normal. And yeah, no. I believe I had quite a bit of attention. I just think I'm an attention whore. Say that politely, but I mean, like, I think my nature is to be to want attention, like to sanguine temperament. My temperament is sanguine, life of the party. So
Got
when
it.
you want as much attention as you can get, and when anything takes that away, you get annoyed at the fact it can take it away. And I think that's how my mind was thinking. Because when I was young, there's so many pictures of me with my mom and my dad, and people used to love me. I was a young little kid. I was always dancing, so I was always sucking in attention as my temperament. It's I like to have eyes on me. Like, yeah, you got to see me, okay? See me. And I don't
That's
know, maybe
funny.
there's a breach there. I don't know, but I thought I had always attention. But go for it, Jay.
No, I'm just saying that's funny because you have a little bit of like the baby child syndrome too. That's what I like to call it, because they're definitely like, see me, see me, see me. It's me.
Look at me.
Look at me. But yeah, no, I think that's it too. Because and I noticed that with children, with parents that have children that they've been giving a lot of attention to, before
Mm,
that next one came to, that child tends to break down a lot more.
mm.
about the fact there's another one coming, because it's just like I think they think just like you automatically, oh gosh, somebody's about to steal my shine. Jesus, why y'all gonna do this? And for me, I was the only child for so long, so it was just like finally I got somebody to play with. Somebody is here to for me to be with and stuff. And so I kind of looked at it differently. But then also I was introduced to other ones, and I was just like, who are you? Why are you here? Like, what's happening?
It's true though. It's true. And I think I wonder, like, and of course, like I said, I think you're like what you just described. So, what for you? Did you like when you said obviously? Because you said obviously that you felt like you got lost in everything, like everybody, like everyone's attention was away from you as well. So then, when you had a sibling, was that like more than you now had your playmate, but you also had somebody who maybe would also see you? Was that something up
It
for you? I
was
don't know.
it was okay. So especially when my mom was pregnant with my brother,
Mm,
it felt like I have, well, yes, somebody that sees me, but I have a real connection. I don't know why it felt so different with my siblings, because we're really tight from my dad. Like, I don't know why it just felt different. And it's probably because I was more so introduced to him, but I was there while he was in the womb. So
mm,
that's probably what the difference, what the connection with him is. It's just like I was there to see him be born. I knew all his experiences as a baby. I was there for. And so my sisters, even with my baby sister, because I kind of moved away by the time she was born, I just wasn't present for their birth. And I have an older brother, so of course I wasn't present for his. So in that light, they were just kind of like a little bit distant,
mm.
for me. And like being the firstborn from my mom, and then him coming, it made a difference, because it was like, okay, I'm here to protect you, because clearly she ain't gonna do it. I'm just gonna let you know now. Like, she ain't the one. Sorry to tell you. But you got me, bro. You got me. But it was just that bond. I guess it's because it's maternal too. I was with her for 9 months longer than anybody else. So it's just me being able to see her pregnant with him, me seeing him born. It was a connection there. It was just this is mine's. That's how I kind of felt about him. He's mine's.
Mm. That's
And so
mad
I became
interesting.
that overly protective big sister.
Mm. That's crazy. I love that. Wow, that's interesting. So that's an eye-opening situation. Um, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because I've never really expressed it this way, and so it's weird to actually hear it like that. Because, like I said, I'm a big sister all around, and I'm very protective of my siblings. But with him, it really was different.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting. Estella, I don't know if you want to add anything. Estella, if you want to, feel free.
I'm just listening. I'm an only child. But some of the things you guys are saying about like that whole well, when Jay came on speaking about um you were talking about all you thinking about the logistics of like, we got another one coming. Like, I was cracking up back there because you're like, I was like, he's a logistics king. I'm a logistics queen, but I was the only. And so, my experience as far as like siblings, I don't have that. I could definitely identify as like, I never had that desire younger to like be like, oh man, I want siblings, or feeling jealous of anyone that had them. But definitely when I got older, probably like 10, 11, and 12, feeling like I had number one, I got into a more stable situation at that age. And I definitely was like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to have a little brother or have a little sister. But it wasn't anything I vocalized because I knew that I was okay. But
Mm.
going into my secondary part of my childhood, like my teenage years, all of my friends can tell you now who I'm still friends with today. Like, oh my God, Stella, like she's so protective. Like, oh my God, like don't tell Stella because I'm gonna go off. Like, I'm not a fighter, but I'm definitely like, why you didn't tell me? Like, no, that's not cool. So that protectiveness, I'm kind of laughing with y'all because like I can definitely identify in that, even me being an only child. But the friendships that I developed over throughout my life, and having moved around so much at a young age, I think that comes from that. And then my natural maternal instinct. I mean, I'm a Cancer, so we can be very like instinctual and maternal
Mm-hmm.
and protective in general. But I'm just listening in. I guess I would say I'll just kind of wrap up what I want to say about the deny situation because you were
Mm-hmm.
originally talking about parenting, right?
Yep.
And I kind of had this conversation a lot in the salon. Like it's called parenting, not childing. So a lot of
Mm.
times, my clients they'll be talking about my kids and this and like this is crazy. Like parenting ain't no joke, and I'm like, yeah, it's called parenting, not childing. And that so speaking on that, in the case of like Denia Jaxn, I'm really proud of her, and I was excited to hear her story, no matter how wild it was to me. I'm always gonna like look at it from an analytical perspective and try to understand her from her point of view. I'll never know, but I try to understand from her point of view, and just really hearing her speak. And when she went to the part she was speaking about, with her daughter and how that made her feel, like her daughter looking even like some of these women, right? That her husband was, adulterating, whatever the word is, he was messing around with. That really struck me because I'm like, dang, she's doing this and talking about this. Like, this is so vulnerable. And, regardless of the backlash, like it's probably the mother in her saying, like, I cannot carry these wounds and pass them to my daughter. And probably even she went through tons of therapy. So she's probably has an awareness now. And it's like, I don't want my daughter to be wounded by this for the rest of her life. Because their daughter went through this with them and whatever other children. Now, whether these kids at this age and point that they are now are fully aware what the story is, doesn't mean they didn't live the experience. And if we're thinking Denia went through this traumatic experience on her own, she didn't. Her two children went through it too, or however many kids they got. They have this experience too. Because every trauma that I carry, like you're talking about, Kojo, like kids carrying trauma from their childhood and carrying through adulthood, I'm just really super proud because she is doing work. She's doing the footwork to be able to break some of those ties and wounds to the past for her children. And I pray that she puts them in therapy because they're gonna have to deal with the ramifications of her mother and father's choices, right? And that's why I think I'm proud of her for taking accountability. And this is only gonna help her children prayerfully, in my mind, prayerfully for them. Because me being an adult now, talking to my father about ways that I felt as a childhood and going through my traumas. And he's like, I didn't know you felt that way. And then he's telling me ways he felt as an adult being a parent. And I'm like, I didn't know you felt that way. It wasn't a problem for me. Like the fact of him living across the country most of my life. And he felt bad about, I didn't know he felt bad. It wasn't a problem in my mind. It wasn't even traumatizing to me, but it was traumatizing to him. But there's things from his childhood that he felt was like, I don't want to mess my daughter up. But I was going through a whole different type of trauma. So I'm glad that she's doing this footwork to like really open up and tell her story so maybe someone else learns from it. But also more, I was thinking, and my prayer was, I pray that this is going to help her children's healing because I don't want anyone to forget or realize like her children have gone through this experience as well, however they may have went through it. So I just wanted to end on that. I'm going to keep listening in. And I'm loving the conversation. I'm literally like laughing back here, listening to y'all tell your stories. So thank you for having me up, everyone.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, I see brief
I was
53.
going to ask Estella a question before, but she kind of answered it towards the end because I did want to know through those different situations at school that she had, was she able to come to her parents Did they make enough safe space to her to say, hey, this is what's happening at school? This is what they're doing to me at school. But she kind of answered it a little bit. I guess it didn't happen until later on in life. Okay. Hey, Bree.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're good, Bree.
Can everyone hear me well though? I just want to make sure before I start talking.
No, just say it again one more time.
Can everyone hear me well? Can you guys hear me
Kojo
good?
hears you
Is it
real
low?
well.
I just want to hear you one more time because that voice is beautiful. Just say it one more time.
Oh, Kojo. Okay, thank you. Let me just get into it. I'm gonna keep it brief. I am at work. But so after listening to the comments or reading the comments rather, I now feel as if I'm not the authority to speak on what she went through. I definitely had my father in my life. I haven't had any sort of trauma. I don't want to judge her about what she did prior to the divorce or the separation. I think I should give her grace on that. I did have a few opinions on it, but I think that I should save. I think, however, she seems as if she's claiming to be in a place where she's healed or healing, and she's very much in her Christian walk now. And something about it seems, I don't want to say disingenuous. I think she is putting the cart before the horse, and I don't think she's exactly at the stage she thinks she is. She's still technically married to this man. I think the best approach, as much as it is important to hear her story, would have been to wait for everything to, end, be finalized with the divorce, take some time, and then I think there would be more power to her words afterward. Because I just can't help but think she would still be with this man had he not cut things off with her. And we know she has her pattern of he does this, she's going to do that. And I feel like this is probably her coming out and speaking about what's going on is her tit for tat moment that she's still having with him. I don't know if the growth that she thinks is there is there. And so I just am very hesitant about her apparently starting a ministry soon with all these women about healing. That concerns me because I don't think I'm looking at a healed woman. That's all I want to say about that. And yeah, that was basically my contribution. I don't think she's ready to be ministering to other women. I think she needed to take more time. I think whatever she's doing right now is her doing her tit for tat and trying to start a brand, trying to compete with him now that she doesn't have access to him and she's not going to be his partner anymore and can't benefit from whatever he was doing and his lies and deceit to the public.
I hear you.
Yeah. I think it was just for me, what sealed it was just not apologizing for or taking true accountability for the cursing, the scripture that she misused. Um, I think for her to stand 10 toes on that, if you really practiced your Bible, understood your Bible, I don't, like you said in your live yesterday, she would have been talking about God, give me vindication, not God, curse these people that said these things against me and my husband, knowing fully well that he was not who he portrayed himself to be. And she's acting as though other people were calling him out wrongfully or calling her out wrongfully, but you were a partner to this deceptive man. And once again, not going to talk about why she was staying with him during all of that, but yeah, just something about that doesn't feel right to me. If you can double down, you're not healed, because a healed person would look at that and say, yeah, I was wrong for that. I was in my anger when I was saying those things, and I was still blinded when I was saying those things, but I've moved past that. So yeah, those are my 2 cents. I'm gonna leave you guys now, but that's it.
No, perfectly good thoughts. I think you made a fair point. I think a lot of people in the chat also agree with you. We want her to still continue the healing process. I think as you eloquently put, I think that the fact that she couldn't apologize did tell me that she's still underneath the cosh of almost a cultish, abusive vibes. You know what I mean? Because I've heard that rhetoric speak before, and it usually comes from a place when people are still underneath the fugazi of the cult that they were in, and it affects you in a way that creates almost a level of pride or ego, almost in a sense. And so she just needs to take some time and heal from the situation. It's not that she's bad or anything, or she needs time to heal so that the ministry can come into its fruition and fullness. Otherwise, she'll find herself breaking other women because she hasn't fully healed, and she'll be giving advice that will be coming from a place that's unhealed as well. So I think you know, I definitely understand what you're saying in that respect. She just needs to take a bit more time to heal. She's told us her story, and I appreciate that, and fair enough. I think the other part is you know, the other part that's now is just for her to take some time, heal, and then come back when you're ready. And your ministry will always be there as well. Your ministry will always be ready for you, because God is not going to take away what He's given. It's the gifts and the callings are without repentance. So the healing process is a part of that. Paul took 14 years away and started researching, reading the Word, and just spending time in the mountains. And so, you know, taking time away and going into the wilderness as Jesus did for 40 days, it's not a problem, you know, and it definitely will help when she comes out. So we can definitely see some healing. There is some healing there. I definitely can see that. I think she's got a little bit more to go, and I think that's important for her to do as well, to go about that and get that healing as well.
I'll say I didn't come on here saying that she's healed, because she went through too much in a long time frame of just back-to-back things. So I won't say she's healed, but she's in her healing process, because for her to even get up and say half of the things that she's saying, accountability for half of the things that went on. And I say half because I'm not talking about the parts that I think she over accounts for Derek, but there's some parts that she's still not accounting for, especially that comment thing. Because I was going to mention that fact that God is not out here putting you through stuff so you can have testimonies. Okay, stop trying to say, God, I'm being spiritually attacked and this and that and the third. That's not it, sis. Okay, so yes, we know you still not healed all the way, because you would know if you're healed. God He don't deal in this. That's not His dealing. Okay, but she is on her process. So I don't want to take away from that, because it's not easy to get up here and tell people and admit where you actually went wrong. A lot of women, and I'm going to say women on this, will not do it. If we were really being honest, a lot of women will not do it. She had, and I give her this because she had so many people that she could honestly blame. She could sit there and say, well, my father didn't do this and my father didn't do that. Derek didn't do this. Derek did that. Derek this and that and the third. This person over here did this to me when he did that to me, but she didn't.
No lie.
So for her to be this far advanced in the situation and only so far removed from it, I have to give her credit in the as where she is in the process. And this part of the process that she's still going through is still part of the learning experience for other people, that you can be on your work and doing the work and not be completely finished with it.
Yeah.
But be able to still stand in your ground and be able to share your story with other people. Now, what she must continue to do is continue to do her work, not say, oh, I got my 4.0 in theology and religious studies, and so now I'm on it. No, sis. The things that you endured in this 10-year window, 10-year plus window, it's gonna take a while to unpack. It took you so long to even address the fact that you were accosted. So yes, we can sit here and speak on what happened with the relationship with you and Derek and all this, but it's still, even in that conversation, you could tell that it still is going to take some time for her to fully, and I said this to you last night, Ojo, for her to fully be aware of where she has gone wrong in that whole thing. Even though she's taking accountability, because it's easy for me to get up here and say, yeah, I was chasing him, I was doing this, but why? That's the question. But why were you doing it? Do you realize why you were doing it? What was driving you to do it for so long? What was in you to say, I got to just keep pleasing this man somehow? What was in you to look at these women's videos and try to mimic everything in their lives? Have you fixed that part of you? Because that's not something that you want to continue doing or show your child that is something that you want to do. Have you fixed the part of you looking at your daughter and feeling some type of way about her? Have you loved yourself enough to really sit down with yourself and have that good all out cry and say, I effed up? I know she said she's not going to be trying to date or do any of this for a while, that's great. But she's not totally at a space to say, I love myself. And I know that because when, I forget, what's his name? The host? I forget what his name is.
Latirius Whitfield.
Okay, when Latirius had told her, that's why I hired a makeup artist to come in here and make sure you're together. I know you're still not loving yourself enough. Because if I know I got this interview that's going to be on such a platform, I'll be down at Mac or some Sephora somewhere. Y'all gonna $25, $50. I'm gonna get this beat real quick, and I'm gonna be on this platform. You don't have to bring no makeup artist for me or nothing like that. I appreciate it if you do. Save me $25, $50, $100, whatever they're gonna charge. But I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna remind him, like my healed self. Now I'm a little petty in my healed self too. My healed self is gonna remind him what he let go. Baby, I was bad when you met me. Like, but you know, I'm on a different plane. You know, I'm a little out there. So she got a way to go, but I don't want to knock her for where she is, because that was a lot. You went from a great situation right into a toxic relationship and stayed in it for 10 plus years. That's a lot to unpack. If we still unpacking some of our childhood stuff in 30s and 40s years old, I'm not expecting her to unpack all that in like 2 or 3 years. It's a lot there. But sis, we definitely got to address that daggone cousin everybody else, because that's what you were doing with that verse. I'm sorry. That scripture, you was not using it the right way, okay? That was used for David to go to war under God's guise, not for you to be attacking the people that is coming at you for standing by your man. Okay, we got to talk about that. We got to address these things. And there was, oh, shoot, I think I addressed it. I might have said it already, because there's one other thing you said earlier, Kojo, and it made me remember some of the other stuff that she was doing, and I just lost it again. But yes, her using God, trying to sit there and say she's under spiritual attack and all this every 5 seconds is like, no, sweetie. You said it yesterday, Kojo. That is your husband doing what he doing. He might have a little sex demon up in him or whatever, but he is not attacking you. Now, that other stuff with the poltergeist stuff with your child and all that, okay, so there's one thing I know. Demons will mess with you when you allow them to. So once you open yourself up to them, they will mess with you. That had nothing, I'm not going to say that had anything to do with Derek and all that stuff, but that had a lot to do with her, where she was in her place, in her mental state of allowing something in. I don't know if it's with the place that she was affiliated with while she was trying to get her way back to God, or if it's like when I say, for me, when the times I'm drawing myself closer back to God and God is calling for me, that's the time that I say Satan and the devil the demons is always being very active in my life. So it could be a situation like that for her. I don't really know. So that's a different thing. I would like to see that footage a little bit. I'm like, but you know, I don't know. But yeah, it's so much. It's so much because I mean, the fact that you got up and did a video with this man while you're trying to grieve the death of somebody, you're barely taken aback, and you're pregnant. There's a lot to unpack with just that alone. You done went through postpartum depressions, and you done had abortions that you're probably thinking about now. So there's a lot. She's in her process. I'm going to give her credit for standing this strong right now through it and continuously go through it. And I'm going to pray that she does continue for her children's sake. I'm going to let it go from there.
Indeedy. Indeedy. Yeah, man. Well, listen, you know, we've got the last 15 minutes, guys. So if you want to have your say, by all means, use the link, jump on. You know, let's have some conversation with the last 15 minutes. So if you know you want to say something, you know, you want to have your say, click on the link, jump aboard, and tell us your thoughts as well, what you thought about the interview. I mean, listen, you know, I think this is going to be a great testament and a great piece of evidence that will be for people to learn from, you know, and people to grow from, because being in a relationship ain't no joke. And being in the wrong one is very, very detrimental. And I think her interview has highlighted the deepest detriments of being with the wrong person. And she's done a great job of fleshing out what her why she, you know, her childhood, and how that's also partly to blame in terms of how she reasons, how she thought of things as well. So I think that's also quite essential to say for her, that she, you know, she held it down, you know, and you know, she was utterly accountable in her account of what happened. So I love that. I think you have to give praise where praise is due. I've said a lot of things, but I do have to give her praise for being accountable, not wavering, not jumping away, not saying it's someone else's fault, but just being real and be like, hey, look, this was me. I did this. I did that. I did this. I went into this. I chose this. I accepted this. And that for me is huge as well. You know, I think it's very, very clear that, you know, it's very, very clear that she took account. So for me, you know, I got no problems here, B. I think it's a great way to highlight how people should come on and explain their stories, not be all in someone else's fault, which she didn't do. She didn't blame Derrick Jaxn. And of course, don't get it twisted, Derrick Jaxn's got his own story that he needs to tell. Whether he will or not, I don't know. And I actually haven't listened to the whole Tony Gaskin's video on denial situation. So I don't know what he kind of said, but I know a lot of people were talking about it. And I did see the part where he said about she might get retaliation or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot, man. It's a lot to process and go through. But maybe I can even review it a little bit as well. But maybe I'll do a separate video and review it. But we'll see. So I don't know. Anyone else got any thoughts? If you haven't got any thoughts, I think we might end it here. That's true. I hear you. I hear you on that, Haitian. There's still some more work to do. That's what it means. There's still some more work to do. Okay. It just means there's more work for her to do. That's all. But definitely, she took accountability for most things. I think she could do a bit better. But I think I can give her grace and say there's work to do. There's still a bit more work to do. There's still a bit more work to do as well. In that respect. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to pay attention and see as well. But let me even play a little bit of this Tony Jaxn. I ain't listened to it. So whilst we're here, I got last 15 minutes. You know, I got last 12 minutes. Let me listen to a little bit of this Tony Gaskin's video that you guys were talking about. So I can break it down. Let's see what he says.
So it take a lot to get out there and speak on that. But I think what's happening though, what the interviewer who interviewing her and whoever else interview her, they don't realize how dangerous that is. Cause you gotta understand, what they don't understand how dangerous that is for her. That they could end up getting that woman killed. Because you got to really think about this, and you got to really understand the type of man this woman was dealing with. Think about this now, because I'm in position, and a smaller position than what he was in, because he did a lot of clout chasing. Every celebrity situation, he mentioned them by name. He did whole dissertations on them as if he was living a perfect life. You know, he was throwing rocks in a glass house. And so you got to understand that for a person to talk as much as he talked, as loud as he talked, and to do what he did, that's one of the sickest and scariest individuals on the face of the earth. Like, and this is what you got to realize. Somebody like that loves, loves, loves power and attention. And what that young lady is doing, she confronting a demon in the physical. She literally trying to confront a demon in the physical. And what you have to realize is that you can't confront spiritual principalities in the physical. You have to confront it spiritually. So the fact that she out and she's speaking on Buddy, if what she's saying go to really getting him ripped apart all over again, harm could be sent her way. Now, she could be in a state to where she might not care because of how low that relationship took her. And I don't know if she had children or not, but to be honest with you, it ain't even a cause worth fighting for, because you just talking about a no good man that we already know about. So it really ain't even a purposeful cause, not something to risk your life. Because when a man that attention hungry and he that power hungry to the point that he will take a platform and abuse a platform in that way, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Like, what? See, I don't think y'all understand. Like, I'm in that position. I could do what Buddy did. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna help you understand something. There is not one woman in my DMs coming on to me. Men do not believe that. And when I tell women that, a lot of women don't believe that. But God be my witness. There is not one woman in my DMs coming on to me. So you know what that let me? You know what that let me know? Is women want and need hope. Women want and need to see that there are good black.
Nah, Tony, I like you, but come on. We got pastors of people in the DMs trying to get at them. Come on, Tony. Come on, Tony. Come on, Tony. You know, Tony, come on, Tony, come on. Tony. Tony, I'm smaller than you and I get approached. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, what? Ain't nobody in your bro. Listen, my panelists get approached. What? How you gonna tell me that nobody's approaching you? Your DMs? I'm like, yo, what? Like, either God has just covered you with the most gracious grace. Maybe that's what it is. maybe the grace of God on your life is so different. You know what I mean? It may be. So I want to say that. But I mean, I'm getting approached. I got people on the panel who get approached. So like, I'm just like, so no one's in your DM trying to approach you. Maybe what he means is nobody in the DMs like he's talking to that is trying to do those things. Do you know what I mean? But so maybe he's thinking of that, and I'm thinking of and I'm thinking of a situation where I'm thinking of when someone enters your DMs, okay? You know what I mean? Because, yo, you know, people come into my DMs for all sorts of things. But, you know, hey, look, I'm sure T. Jakes will tell you people come into his DM trying to slide in. Okay? Powerful men will always have women trying to slide in. It's just a fact of life. How you deal with them, you know, how you deal with them, different story. Being married don't make you being married don't make any difference to a woman when they want you. I don't think people get it. Like you being married makes you even more desirous to certain women. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying I don't believe it personally. This guy's a good-looking guy, handsome brother. He talks a lot of sense and wisdom, and his audience is predominantly women. Now, maybe what he means is he don't entertain that kind of conversation in his DM, so that people who are having continuous conversation with him don't do those things. But you tell me people don't approach with the mindset they're trying to get. Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe that's what he means. You know, I'm just saying. You know. But what he said, I mean, I do agree what he said. I mean, it could be dangerous. It could be dangerous as well. So I'm not gonna deny that he's right. It could be dangerous, yeah, it could be dangerous, and it could be detrimental for her. I don't know if it is that deep. I don't know if Derek has shown us that particular aspect. I think he's shown us his hand of what he is. You know, what he's behaved and what he's been like. I think, you know, that that she has to be careful, but I don't know if it could be that, you know. I don't know. Maybe it could be a that thing for Derek Jaxn. I never really got that impression, but hey, we don't know. You know what I mean? We don't know. So everything's always with caution. But like she said, God gave her the go ahead. That's according to her, and she could go ahead and have that conversation with you know, with Latirius Whitfield. But yeah, it's a madness in a dunya. You get me? But let me listen in the last few minutes. Let me listen a bit more.
Like men, that these women are not coming on to me because they're saying, hey, we finally have a man who is talking right and living right and doing right. Let's support him, let's applaud him, and let's not get in his way. So do you know what that let me know? That let me know that Buddy had to go out of his way. Buddy had to go out of his way.
Tony, come on. Tony, come on. You are a good-looking brother from the ends. Okay, all right? You are from the hood. You know exactly how men and women move. The more of a platform you have, right? You're telling me that women are now saying, finally, we've got somebody we can respect and love. That's the reason why they want you. If we know psychology, that's exactly the reason why they want you. Right? We know the psychology. The fact that somebody can be disciplined, can have disciplined penis, stay faithful to one woman and love his woman and praise her and do all those things. You think because you're doing all that, that wouldn't invite people who don't want to mess that up for you. And I'm not even talking about people that want to mess up. People want what you have. People want to be that woman that you're faithful to. It's backwards, but it's a psychology. We know this already. You know what I mean? So the fact that he said, I'm like, Tony, come on now. Come on, Tony, come on now. Come on now. Jesus preached the truth and still got crucified. Come on. You know what I mean? Yeah? Come on. Come on. All right? You can't be telling me that. There ain't no way. There ain't no way. Ain't no way. I remember my pastor. That's my spray there. I remember my pastor, not my pastor, sorry, not pastor. I remember my uncle who's a prophet. He told me one story one day. He said, listen, I don't play with my my social media. This was years ago when Facebook was the main thing. And he said, you know, look, my Facebook's open. My wife has my Facebook because when women enter, I don't want trouble. You understand what I'm saying to you? Like, even he's aware. I mean, he's Jerry Curl's been killing it. I can't lie to you. He's tall. He's got Jerry Curls. He plays bass, plays keys. He can sing. He prophesies. Yeah, he's gonna be a catch. But you know, he makes sure that people know, hey, look, nah, you know, they can't play with me. Okay, so I think what he means is that he doesn't entertain them. Maybe that's what he meant, rather than saying they ain't entering his DMs. Because I just don't know. I'm like, bro, like, you don't have to go. If I'm Derek Jaxn, I don't have to go anywhere. Just build a platform. He's got over 1 million. He had almost 1 million followers on Instagram or something like that, right? You think there ain't women out there who followed him just because how fine he is? Come on now, Tony. Come on now, Tony. Come on, Tony.
Who get them women on their back? Because it's really not women who gonna be anywhere near classy that's gonna put themselves out there. Women write me all the time, but none of it is forward. None of it is coming on to me. They write me for advice. They write me and comment on a picture that I posted, me and my wife. Yes, bless. Yes, amen. Y'all look good together. It's stuff like that. But there are no women coming on to me saying, hey, I think you this and that. And I know a lot of time marriage ain't what it cracked up to be. And if you ever feel like leaving or like you done or you not being treated right, I want you to know that I really like you and where your mind at. I don't see no message like that. And the times I have seen it, in the 15 plus years I've been doing them, I count on one hand. And to be honest with you, one of the times was a guy that came at me sexually, had me throwing up in my mouth. But as far as women, I could count on one hand. One hand. And the two that pop into my mind just off the top of my head, there was sex workers. Like, they weren't just regular everyday women.
All right, so Tony clearly doesn't get any women in his DMs. That's what he's basically telling us. You know, clearly. Because clearly, like, Tony. Now, Tony, me and you are boys. Come on now. Come on, boy. Come on, Cap. Look, I've had people, listen, let me be real with you. I'm not outing anybody. I've had people enter my DMs, be like, you know what? You know what? I love the way you think. Just want to have a conversation. And you already know when people start saying, I just want to have a conversation. You know, for me, that's a proposition. Just want to have a conversation. Conversation where? Let's conversate. Let's conversate in the on the live feed. Let's conversate in my DMs. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh man, you know. So look, I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm just saying it's very rare to have that. You know, I'm not saying, and we appreciate the fact that he's a faithful man. I appreciate that. I don't want to see him fall. I don't want to see him give in. I don't want to see him ever cheat. I'm just saying that I don't know. Maybe he just has a different way of looking at it. I personally just know. That's not my experience. But then again, I'm single, so I'm not married. But you know, married men get approached all the time. I've spoken to I've spoken to married men Okay, I remember I was talking to my boy, one of my guys the other day, and he said a woman at a wedding brashly approached him and said, "I know you're married, but listen, I don't know what you know what I mean." So I'm having my boys, I don't want to say my boys, but guys that I know who are married tell you, listen, it's scary out there. People will approach you even with your wedding ring on happily. So I don't know. I'm just like, Tony being with a platform over 1 million people, you telling me these women ain't approaching because they respect you so much they ain't approaching? I don't
They
know about
work in
it.
the industry selling their body. And I remember, and I didn't even catch it for the one. The lady was like, I would love to support you in other ways. And I was like, no, retweets is totally fine. And then she wrote back, wow, that was the nicest turn down I've ever received. I was like, wow. Then it hit me like, oh, she was coming on to me. I thought she meant like she'll love to like send me some money or work for me or something like that. I ain't know she meant.
Tony. Tony. Tony G, stop it. Stop it. Tony. Okay? I like you, Tony. Okay? You go and talk yourself into some shit you can't get yourself out of. All right? Don't do it. You know? Uh, don't, don't, don't do it. Tony, what are you telling me right now? Bro, Sean, that's what I'm trying to say, bro. I'm like, you are literally telling me that you're not aware of the games that women play when you were a player. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay, come on. He needs to stop that nonsense. Okay, stop that nonsense right there, bro. We are not about to cap on this situation. Let me listen to the rest of it.
Sexual. I'm like, whoa. But I tell you, that was over a decade ago. So, and I don't know if it could be God having a hedge of protection around me.
Probably.
And being that he did not work for God and he was not interested in working for God, maybe he didn't have a hedge of protection around him. And so it was fair game. But even with that, every man is tempted, especially those of us who working for God. The devil wants us more than the ones he already got. So,
so Tony, is that what you're saying right now? You tempted. This is why I said. This is why I said, Tony. Just This is why I said, Tony. Just yeah. I said, Tony, just because the way you're talking is as if you're completely different. Tony, yeah. You know, like I'm just saying, like, yo, keep quiet. You know, the more you say, the more it's gonna get worse. Okay, all right. My thing is this. Listen, I am very much aware. The more a platform I build, the more that situations are gonna come where I need to make sure I keep good boundaries. What I can say to you is, I'm not going to be stupid about knowing that people approach in very passive ways, but are trying to get something from me. You understand? So, of course, if you don't come direct, I'm going to play dumb about it, but I'm not stupid to know that you're not trying to approach. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Right? Now, of course, if you're being passive about it and you consistently be passive about it, right? Eventually, you're going to become active about it. You are going to say something. You're going to say a little joke or a little something like, to kind of test my waters. If I spend enough time with you, that passivity is going to become active very soon. So, we can say no one's approached you. I'm like, well, okay, cool. No one's approached you then. Hey, you just different from the rest of us guys. But even with my small platform, I've been approached. I just don't know. I'm not saying it's a regular thing, but if I had 1 million, maybe I'd be approached more. But I'm just saying that, look, at the end of the day, people are going to they're going to come into your DMs, they're going to try things. And rightly so, as he said, then you put good boundaries on them. You put good boundaries on them. All right.
So I'm here to tell you, like, now that young lady talking, that's the rabbit got the gun. So what happened when the rabbit got the gun? Yeah, he could shoot. Yeah, the rabbit got a gun, the rabbit could shoot, but guess what? That just means the hunter gonna bring bigger gun. So I'm trying to tell you that what that young lady doing, she dealing with a different type of monster. She ain't dealing with no regular man who went out and cheated. For a man to build a brand on clowning, bashing, and talking bad about other men, and then go be and do the very man that he talking bad about, go be the same way.
It's called a con man.
That is a different type of individual.
See, I don't see him that different. I'll be honest with you. I don't see him that different. And I'll tell you why I don't really see Derek Jaxn being that different. He's a pimp. He is a church pulpit pimp. He found his congregation. He started spewing pandering towards a congregation and built, his platform based upon that pandering. Now, his pandering isn't a lie. Okay? His pandering is not a lie, because a lot of stuff that he talks about is true. The only difference is his character and his behavior is different. Okay? All right? The only difference is his character and his behavior is contrary to what he's doing. People do that all the time. Shoot, I do it. I ain't gonna lie to you. Sometimes I'll be out here in them streets. But listen, so pastors, look at pastors be doing the exact same thing. Pastors be like, hey, Jesus is Lord, and they're out here smashing other women in the congregation. Meanwhile, they're preaching Jesus up and down, left, right. Humans can do what we call cognitive dissonance behavior. I'm not trying to water down his warning. His warning is valid. I'm just saying, I don't know if that is the same thing for Derek Jaxn, right? But I get what he's saying. He's trying to warn an aspect. But I'm just saying that, look, I don't think it's that different to what we've seen in real life,
That is not a normal person. I am here to tell you. So what I'm telling y'all is y'all got to pray for that sister. Y'all got to pray for that sister. And the reason why I'm even doing this video,
that's fair,
is just in case so Buddy could see this and know that I'm already onto it. And see, the thing about it is, you don't have to be of it to be able to see it and understand it.
That's fair.
When you operate in the spiritual realm, you understand how spirits move, because God show you the good and the bad, the righteous and the evil. God show you, so I could already know that type of spirit will try to conquer physically what it cannot conquer spiritually. So you got to realize that woman done already went through psychological and spiritual warfare, and she still ain't being quiet. So if you can't psychologically manipulate and control an individual, and your ego is so big to the point that you want to build yourself and be put on a pedestal and to be praised and to be admired and revered and pedestalized, and anything that come in the way of that, you will destroy it. It take a lot, though. It take a lot. But listen to me, that would be a crime of passion. Like, just seeing this will have Buddy blood boiling, but he'll also understand and realize, like, that if an evil spirit come for a pure spirit, a good spirit, that good spirit got other weapons, and it's more than just physical. So he'll already be aware of that, or somebody like me, and he'll already be aware that he'll be done met his match. But when it's a woman and it's somebody that you done had passion with, somebody you done had quote unquote love with, wasn't love though, dominatrix, lust, it's crazy how that worked. It's crazy how that worked. How that right there made her feel inadequate. And she started trying to put on and serve and do more to win. And that's wild. That's wild, I'm telling you. Like that's, and when I say that, I ain't saying a derogatory negative way towards her. I'm just helping you understand how deep that is. But you know what? It's more common than we think. It's more common than we think. That's happening every day in relationships. It's happening every day where somebody's getting cheated on and then they doing more trying to be enough for the person who cheated on them. Listen to what I'm telling you. Listen to what I'm telling you. That thing dangerous, you hear me? That thing is dangerous, I'm telling you. So you got to be mindful of that. Y'all got to be careful with that. You know, be careful with that situation because the wrong thing gets said, that young lady could end up paying a grave price. And she might not fear, she might not worry, she might not care. But what you have to understand about spiritual warfare is it's not even about her. It ain't even about her. If something was to happen to her, God forbid, that would be a victory for the devil against millions or tens of thousands of other victims who are ready and thinking about speaking up. But see what happened? Ready and thinking about leaving, ready and thinking about speaking up, and see what happened, and then end up changing their mind and saying, no, I don't want what she went through. And it might not be all the way life gone, but it'd be like, no, I don't want what happened with her to happen to me. Let me hush. Let me hush. And just stay and just deal with it. It ain't worth staying. It ain't worth staying. Definitely something you ought to leave. But I'm gonna tell you something else. And see, that's what a lot of these people don't, because they so worried about clicks and they so worried about going viral that they don't even thinking about the repercussions of what could happen to that woman for having that platform and for getting on that platform. They might not even be processing it. So it's like this right here. If she in your city and you do security, she might not be able to afford it. Give her free security. Give her free security, and just the hours that you do security for her, count it as your tithes and offering. Count it as your tithes and offering, and just let it be something to where you say, okay, boom, my tithes is supposed to be $100 a week. Yeah, I'm gonna do 2 hours of security. Tell everybody else you know too. Hey, sow some time, because you got to realize women today losing their life for far less than that. Losing their life for far less. It's dangerous out here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. It's very dangerous out there, so I'm not going to do it. But I don't know. That's a bit much. I don't know. I felt like it was a bit heavy for this situation. You know what I mean? I don't know. I felt like it was a bit heavy for this situation. Because I think, and again, maybe I'm underestimating Derek Jaxn, but I don't think it was that heavy for her in a situation like that. Do you know what I mean? I definitely feel like he can retaliate in a divorce. You know, I definitely feel like he can retaliate in a divorce. You know, so definitely, understand that. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't. That was a bit much for me, a bit heavy for me. In terms of the information that we have, in terms of her whole relationship, she's left before, and he's never done anything physical, from what we heard. You know what I mean? She's left before. She's gone away. She's come back herself. You know, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that is a part of the process. You know, yeah, I don't know. So maybe, I don't know, you know. I felt like it was a bit heavy, to be honest, for that, you know. So yeah, I didn't hear her say anything like that per se. I didn't hear her say anything of the threat of Derek Jaxn in that particular way. I mean, listen, people get petty in divorces. So do I expect him to get petty in a divorce? Yeah. Do I expect him to say you ain't getting no money in a divorce? Yeah. Because Negroes are petty when it comes to divorces. You know, I don't know. So yeah, for me, you know, I don't know. It's one of those ones. I don't know. It's a bit of a mad thing, to be honest. Okay. Well, listen, I got to go. I don't know. I can't say any more to this situation, but maybe there's more to it we don't know. So maybe he knows something that I don't know. You know, so I don't know. Very, very, very heavy for what Tony just said. So we'll see. But listen, love and appreciation, guys. Thank you for joining us for the hours to have the live panel. We're gonna go in a second, but shout out to Fab L. Sorry, she gave a little. I say little, but she gave us a donation, and we appreciate that. This wasn't a mistake, but it's his lifestyle. Are we pretending this man doesn't have a sex addiction? I hear you. He does. You know, you definitely hear that. You know, I hear you on that as well. So, thank you again for that, Fab L, as well. You know, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, listen. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you. Great conversations today, and we will see you again very, very soon for another installment of conversation as well. Let me leave you with this. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked, Saludo. We'll see you again very soon.